Hi everyone. All right, welcome to this place if you're new here, and welcome back if you're returning. All right, Cancer season. I thought it would be fun to look at some July astrology. I'm going to get out of the picture and just show you a visual. I know a lot of you here are very much visual learners, so I thought it would be fun. But before we get there, I wanted to read something from Alice Bailey's Esoteric Healing in relation to Cancerian energy. It's called The Gate. So, the etheric, number one, the etheric vehicle from a circulatory angle is governed by the moon, Cancer's ruler. Okay. She also says it veils Vulcan, which you can find that in your map if you want to add an extra one. Number two, the nervous system is ruled over by Venus. Venus has been in Cancer and will be until the 11th, till 7/11. Thank heaven for 7/11. The endocrine system is governed by Saturn. Saturn is in Pisces, trining this energy, which is actually quite positive. And the bloodstream is governed by Neptune. And Neptune being in Pisces, also creating a trine energy. So it seems that all of us, if we're going to take our body as a etherical place, the soul within it, then I guess during Cancerian time, or when the moon is prominent, then we can shift these systems. It says these four systems are in reality the manifestation of the four aspects of matter in its lowest or purely physical expression. There are other aspects of expression of the fundamental substance, but these are the four of the greatest importance. Each of these is essentially dual, and each duality corresponds to the ray of the soul. There are 7 of them, or as we can say, of the personality. Each, therefore, is both positive and negative. Each can be described as a unit of resistant force and of dynamic energy. Each is a combination of certain aspects of matter and substance, and the substance, the relatively fluid or quality endowing agent. I missed something, I'm so sorry. Each is a combination of certain aspects of matter and substance, the matter being the relatively static aspect, and the substance of the relatively fluid or quality endowing agent. Their interplay, relationship, and unified function are an expression of the one life principle. Those are capitalized. And when they have reached the point of perfected fusion or synthesis, or as we can call it, coordinated activity, there then appears that life, quote, there then appears that, quote, life more abundantly, of which Christ spoke of, and of which as yet we know nothing. The 4 aspects of matter produce the correspondence also to the 4 divine attributes, as well as to the 3 divine aspects. I'll have to dig into those later. This book's really deep. Okay, almost there. This is how deep Cancer is, right? So, the analogy of the basic dualism of all manifestation is also preserved, thus making the 9 of the initiation, the 3, the 4, and the 2. 3, 4, 2. This correspondence to the initiatory process is, however, in the reverse direction. For it is initiation into the creative 3rd aspect, the matter aspect, and the world of intelligent activity. It is not initiation into the second or soul aspect, as it is in the case with the hierarchical initiations for which the disciple is preparing. It is the initiation of the soul into the experience of physical incarnation, into the physical plane of existence, and into the art of functioning as a human being. The door of this experience, pardon me, the door into this experience is the gate of Cancer, quote unquote. Initiation into the kingdom of God is entered through the gate of Capricorn. These 4 attributes, remember, Moon, Venus, Saturn, Neptune, which relate to our etherical vehicle, our nervous system, our endocrine, and the bloodstream. These 4 attributes and the 3 aspects of matter, plus their dual activity, are the correspondence to the 4 aspects of the personality and the spiritual triad. She says, in this statement is hidden the key to liberation. Fascinating though, right? And we talked about this a few, I don't remember when it was, a year or 2 ago. We're talking about the path of the initiate, and we start with Aries, and then after that we are in Cancer energy, which is where we check in emotionally, right? How do I feel about what I'm doing, or what is the feeling behind it, what is the drive behind it? And there is parts of life, because Venus, that second energy, which Venus again has been in Cancer, is what makes us happy in this physical life. You know, a hug from that friend, the softness of a blouse, you know, what have you. We're allowed to be comfortable in this realm and have an etherical body, if you will. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, Alice Bailey is fascinating. This is just 1 volume, Esoteric Healing. Actually, isn't it so pretty? Simple and so complex. Okay. This note just stuck to my foot. You gotta have soul to wash your sins away. You gotta have hope. It's the price you gotta pay. You gotta give love, or your love will walk away. Stay loose. Only way to stay. Because we got to be fluid in Cancer, right? If Cancer gets too tight into that Capricorn energy, it becomes like a stone. You know, we want to be fluid in that, wash over the hardness of the stone until, again, it is smooth. All right, let's go into this. So, as it is Cancer season, I guess what we're talking about is, hold on, I'm going to get my magic stick. Think about what's in your 4th house. Because that's kind of the deal. I feel like there's something about this season that's letting us know that we have more, or we could have more, but we're also aware that less is more. So maybe we're sorting out quality, you know, the choice of refinement, right? Saturn trining this energy is making it slightly friendly, although he is in reverse until from June until the middle of November. So that's kind of rethinking a few things, and home could play a big role. I see this as the house of the father. Some people sit it with mother. Either way, it's kind of the beginning and the end. Like if a house was a fool, was like the Fool card, that card would sit in this 4th house. That's one of its houses. So again, collectively, our fourth house energy is being highlighted. I would suggest looking at your fourth house, because regardless of what sign sits on top of that, this is our foundation, right? And so this undercurrent will be here. And what is in Cancer this month? We have Venus, Mercury, and of course the moon will be there through the month. So this is all very, very personal energy, right? Very personal. So on the 2nd, very early in the month, Mercury is with the moon, with the sun here. I don't feel like getting into the degrees. Sometimes that makes my head hurt. But what am I seeing? Hold on. Well, I guess these are conversations in the heart. Maybe I'm seeing this as a person that's like, either they fell outside the circle or they're finally understanding where they're at, like their own center. And this is interesting, but we just talked about this over on Patreon, this jump energy. And that's what I'm seeing. It's like jumping. It's almost leapfrog. So Mercury will stay here in Cancer, hanging out with the sun in the same house, right, until the 26th. So basically we'll get into Leo season, and that's when Mercury will move into, it will shift from 4 to 5 and be over here. So this could be a wonderful time while Mercury is here with the sun to really have some conversations about, I heard, about family, about fun. Venus also being there could be ideas about how to be, in a simple sense, it could be like, how can I make my home more comfortable? Right? Which is a reflection back into like, how comfortable do I feel with myself, and where I'm at and what I'm creating. Excuse me. That soul, I guess, is in the body, right? More comfortable there. I feel like this is the sun and this is water too, like summery, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere. It's like that summer energy is going to feel really good. Talking to friends, maybe going to little gatherings could be really helpful, or, just conversating with other kinds of, it doesn't have to be just family. It could be like friend family, like expanding, talking to the water or listening. Mercury isn't always talking, it could be listening too. Mercury does represent business as well, so while this is here, I guess a home business could be doing well, or there's conversations about that. I feel like a person's confidence is also coming back to them. It's very good when Cancer feels positive, because whenever the Cancer is ruled by the moon, so when the sun comes into Cancer time every year, it's almost like a new moon energy that whole month to an extent, right? So we have this new opportunity to feel a different way if we want to, because it does take a bit of our ego in a healthy way, right? You can't, if Cancer sits in a complete passivity, then it misses out on blessings that the material world can actually bring them for happiness, even though they know, as this is subconscious energy below the horizon, they know that like that physical thing doesn't actually bring the happiness ultimately, but it's something that you're allowed to have, again, in this physical reality, right? Things you can trust or rely upon or build, and they won't fall down, right? Because the intention is I heard, good and pure. Interesting. And then whatever, and I feel like these could be outward conversations, but they're also very inward. And as we move forward, Mercury's going in Leo to me is like, now we can start doing something. We can try something, because Mercury is experimentation, right? Venus is very as Ernest William describes him, is an energy where we choose something and we stick with it. It's very steady. Venus, like once it truly connects to something. Mercury is what we usually do before Venus. We try different things out, and see how they play out, how it feels when we're interacting with it, right? But I could see this, especially as we move forward this summer or this season, is actually very, very creative. Pretty chill. It feels chill energy too. Okay, so on the 5th, we also have a new moon. So the moon is here with the sun on the 5th of, July. How long does that stay there? Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3 days. 1, 2, 2 days till this. So the 5th through the 7th. So it's Friday to Sunday. So Venus, Saturn, and Sun. 2 years ago, we're reestablishing some kind of energy that was, there was a little hole in the bucket for the last 2 years, some way, somehow. Do you know what I mean? Can you feel that? And it's like that isn't there anymore, right? Because this is holding water now. It's holding water now, so I feel like this is a pretty comfortable moon. It will actually make a water trine this month too, more frequently than not. So this is why I heard being emotionally in tune, right? You don't have to say the words to set the intention if the feeling is pure, right? If you want to, you can. There's no restriction on that, but okay. So a few days before, I guess from the 2nd to the 5th as well, is a really beautiful time for letting go of things. However you want to, however you're doing that. It's smaller, it's like little, it's not pushing a boulder off a hill, it's like brushing away the extra sand. Do you know what I mean? On the stone. Okay, we'll leave that there. So on the 11th, Venus ends up going into Leo also, which I see initially, intuitively, that this is so creative. Any kind of creative projects you have, children that are around you, lovers, it's right. You see these two people, they're just hanging out. This is really nice energy. It doesn't have to be big groups of things. This could be more one-on-one. Like, and I heard sharing things. That's really highlighted. Sometimes Venus can be a little irritated in Leo because it's sun energy. But I think that generally happens due to like an insecurity. And I think that's the conversation that's with this Mercury and Venus connecting in Cancer energy for some time now. And again, something about the last 2 years. It's something's changing there. And I really feel like this is a beautiful time to express yourself creatively, however you do that. use it in different ways. It doesn't have to be the thing you always do. It could be like, I'm going to pick up something new. Really just be open. Kind of inner child, playful. Right. This isn't super serious. Venus was in Leo around this time last year, so you could also think back to that. Like, what are your contracts with love? Or I heard, how are you wanting more of who you spend time with? Because that determines, everyone's a helper to everyone else, right? Angelically, however you want to call it, spiritually. So, and there are things that are soul wants in this life that are physical, right? Other people, friendship, love, again, comfy pillows. We can have these things. So the people that are around, there's like a great awareness. And if that's sitting positively, I really feel like you're going to meet some folks or build upon the circles that you have. I heard really solidly, right? It's like adding another stone again to the structure, and they can help you with the heavy things too. When you need it. This is good people, or again, just people to that understand maybe your mind or your heart better. They understand your expression. Cool. So someone's feeling more in their zone and confident too. I like that. Okay, the 13th through the 15th, the moon's going to be in Libra. And of course, this is sitting in the 7th house. This will sit differently for you. You can think about this and put these in your map to overlap, or like look at it differently. But whenever the moon is in Cancer or Aries specifically, kind of Capricorn too, unless that's natural to you, it's always a bit uncomfortable because its ruler is being squared by itself. It's like someone's punches themselves, that kind of thing. So that could be a little bit touchy, but it would be like an old insecurity, or like an what is this shape? Is it like that? Who's that guy? So that moon 13th through the 15th is I heard it could be, what's uncomfortable is that which wants to come towards you. Like maybe a person's a little intimidated, like, what is that? I heard I haven't known that part of myself yet, or I haven't been there for a long time, right? Like, what is that? Maybe try to draw your fear. If you can, like, you could think about that. Maybe that's a way to get it out and then to laugh at it, right? Reminds me of the old Libra reading, like, find the humor in it, right? La resistance. Okay, so let's move ahead. 19th, 20th, the moon here. So we move forward. Then the moon will be opposing Cancer, and it will be in Capricorn. 19th and 20th. So sometimes that's a little uncomfortable, because these are to me, this is inner security. Again, like the soul within the body. The water earth represent that. I see that all the ways around, but as Saturn is ultimately like earth and time, it's the physical, again, manifestation. It's the strongest one of it, right? Taurus just lives within that earth. Virgo tries to well, they're trippy in what realm they live in sometimes. It's mutable, right? So this is that steady earth energy. Oh, actually, I spoke incorrectly. Although I guess just I spoke incorrectly. Tropically, the moon will be in Aquarius, which is actually a more difficult aspect. It makes a quincunx or an inconjunct. It's 150 degrees. So it's, you can see this sort of seesaw energy here. That's a bit of what this is. It's like the sun would be on one side and the moon would be on the other. And for it they always work together, but the way we work with that energy depends, right? Because this is the mind and this is the emotions. So maybe there's a really beautiful adjustment there during that new moon. Saturn's transiting through Capricorn, through Aquarius also. So if there's any like mother wounds or lack of nurturing and ways of the inner child, this is also really beautiful healing. It could be a little touchy. Depends, I guess, where Aquarius sits for you. But again, this could be relinquishing something, because when Moon and Saturn come together, luminaries and Saturn come together, we've already gone around the wheel. You know, it's like a place kind of of completion where we don't have to endure the hardship of it anymore. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And I guess to close out this portion here, the 26th and the 27th, the moon will be in Aries, which is also another square to the moon. So sometimes that's a little uncomfortable, but I find air moons are harder than... Well, I'll take that back. Let's stick to the point. Moon in Aries in a positive says, I know how to meet my own needs. It doesn't matter whether I got them as a child or whether my ex was giving them to me. It's again I can. I heard highest function is I heard take care of myself. You should do that. You're a really good person. Your body, you can do that. Okay. This is also being confident that a person's needs will be met also. It may take time sometimes. It may not be instantaneous. And that's the test in Aries, is whether it's patient enough. I heard to really absorb it. But that could be touchy depending on how your map's set up, or just if there's a little bit of a friction, it's because the moon is squaring the sun. It's hard to see one another, right? If you think about 90 degrees is this is a square. So you can't really see around the corner, right? There's always this like in between, I don't know space, and that's why it's always good to like chill. I heard if it feels a little funky, like don't worry about. I heard something about the way. At least on those weird days. Okay. Oh, one other thing to mention, I guess this kind of coincides with some of what we said, but Sirius has been traveling through, this is Persephone's mother, also known as Demeter. She's been in Capricorn and will be in Capricorn all month. So whatever Capricorn house, wherever that's functioning for you, and overall as a back up. As a foundation, this could be where someone either feels confident and free, or they're going to feel afraid, and this goes back into satisfying one's own, like realizing that your needs will be met. And that which cannot be met by others at times is something, again, that can be, because that is possible. You can trust that. But the essence of I heard can satisfy myself, again, in this physical body, then that can be done. But she's kind of a wound. I mean, sometimes it's how we love, um, but she had a very difficult. Sirius is a very difficult story, which we won't go into now. It's not, which is very connected to Cancer. I guess maybe we'll talk about that on Patreon. There's a little bit more sensitive topics with that. So anyway, that's something to be aware of, especially if you're having planets in Capricorn. It could be touchy. Okay, Saturn, again, in Aquarius is in retrograde and will be until the middle of November. So if this could be like old projects or going back. It's finding time, I heard, for the things that really matter. If there's any art projects you're working on, music you're writing, like, I don't know, I heard dance routines, like businesses you're trying to, whatever, because remember, this is your house of also capacity. So, and to each is their own, but this is a widening of energy. It's taking your abilities, and with Saturn opposing this energy, but also in retrograde, it's like, okay, how can I figure out, again, how to manage my time in a way that helps, I heard, make this happen, whatever you're trying to work on, right? Because we do have to work a little bit harder, and in, I guess, what could be considered the right way, because sometimes it is to, it's always to not give up, but it's where we say, like, no and yup. You know what I mean? Because there's actually a lot more time in a day than we think that we are. Not that we're supposed to fill it so that we don't feel, but again, where we're directing it in this positive, creative energy. Gemini in Jupiter in Gemini until next year. So you could also think of an undercurrent. Jupiter's kind of sitting in our third house collectively. So this is a lot of communication. It's again, it's people being blessed for their abilities to, or feeling blessed for what they are able to do. It's like having a completely different conversation. Okay, and then Uranus in Taurus, which will retrograde in September. I just remembered an epiphany I had about Taurus last night before I went to bed, but I forget. Maybe I'll remember and write it below. Anyway, it was interesting. Is that something? This fence, jumping the fence. Okay, and then Neptune and Pisces. No wonder there's so many folks coming out of their, like, coming out into the world with their spiritual abilities, because this is our hidden talents, you know. And of course, there's that which is true and that which is false, because sometimes it's illusion. It's like sitting. That's a very it's kind of a narrow path to walk. We have to, again, be fluid to make that happen. Pluto's also, of course, tropically in Aquarius. I'm sorry. It's at 29 degrees, so it's, I guess, would be Capricorn. This anaretic degree. And that sits there in in retrograde until 1010 again, which happened 2 years ago also, right? We did that 1010 reading. Maybe that's still relevant. That's come up a couple times. That one was pretty deep. It was like the lens of Scorpio. Thank you for that, Scorpio. What's free here to close this out? Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra, Virgo. So we have each one of the elements: immutable earth, cardinal air, fixed water, and immutable fire. Give me a second. There's a lot happening over here. I bet whenever the moon goes over from Capricorn to Leo, I guess that's something to remember, that like the moon would be with Sarah, so like even bigger. The moon would touches Pluto every month, right? The moon's going to touch Saturn every month. The moon's going to touch Uranus every month, etc. Well, if we go for these longer planets, we'll touch Uranus each month, and then Jupiter. But that's kind of like bam, 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 bam. I mean, I guess we get a break in Aries too, technically, because there isn't like a longevity planet there right now. I think I just ran out of steam for this reading. I'll try to get into the ascendants. I'm not going to make any promises right now because I like to do what I say and say what I do. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for being you. Thanks for showing up, and feel free to share your thoughts. Yeah, I really appreciate you, and have a great month, and talk to you soon.